Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. So alhamdulillah, we finish off the zamir marfu when it is the fa'il of a fa'il madhi or fa'il mudari, when it's the ism of kana, when it's the amr. However, there's something else we want to discuss, but quick recap. We have zamir, marfu', mansoob and majroor, zamir mubtada, zamir fa'il can be mustatir, it can be bariz. Then this is zamir mubtada, which come on their own. Then these. Then we had examples where it comes in the fa'il as a fa'il madhi, fa'il mudari, amr and nahyun. Okay, and we said here, in some forms they're mustatir, and some form they're bariz, where you can see something at the end of the verb. We said this is zamir bariz, where you can't see the form at the end of the verb, is hidden. It's either huwa or anta. What I want to mention here is something. You have something called third person imperatives in English. Those of you who have studied English, it's something called jasiv. What does that mean? Let's see. Okay, this mistake here. Let's say. Oh, it's supposed to be let them go. My mistake, sir. So if you say let them go, what does let them go mean? What is happening here? Let them go. What does that show? What kind of meaning does that give? What are we trying to say? We're trying to issue a command or recommendation, but the person is not in front of us. So I can't say they go. That you just can't say they go. I can say go, and that would mean you go. But when they're not here in front of you, the people you wish to tell something, you want to give a piece of information to some people and tell them to do something, but they're not in front of you. Then you say let them go, or they should go. So this kind of amr, it's an amr, it's a command, it's an imperative, it's called third person imperative, the ghaib. So in Arabic it's also called the same thing, al-amru lil ghaib, which means al-amr is imperative and al-ghaib is third person. So a third person imperative, al-amru lil ghaib, i.e. a command or an imperative for the third person. Do you understand what we're discussing today? So when you want to tell somebody to do something but they're not actually there in front of you, you have to use the let or should meanings in English. Okay, now how do you make this? Simply, you get the mudari majzoom form, you get the mudari, make it majzoom. How do you make it majzoom? You remove the haraka and drop the noonul i'rab. Yes? And you add a lam with a kasrah before it. This is called lamul amr. You add a lamul amr. You add a lamul amr before the word. Correct? For example, liyadhhab. So dhahaba yadhhabu, to go. So you make the majzoom form of dhahaba yadhhabu is yadhhab. You add a lam with kasra to it, becomes liyadhhab. Understood? Liyadhhab. Okay? Yadhhabani. So how do you translate liyadhhab? Anybody who can think, how would you translate liyadhhab? How would you translate? Pardon me? Let him go, very good. Or another translation? He should go. He should go. It's as if you're commanding he or him, but he's not in front of you. Liyadhhaba, so it's yadhhabani. Make the noon, drop the noon to make it majzoom and add the lam of amr. So liyadhhaba, they, masculine dual, should go or let them go. Depending on the context, which is better to translate. Liyadhhabna, because obviously, remember when it's a noonun niswa, it's mabni. So then you want to drop the noon, it's just majzoom, but you can't see the majzoom state being manifested. So liyadhhabna, they, feminine plural, should go, the women should go. When you do tarkeeb, it'll be like this. Lamu amr, fa'il and fa'il. So you call this lamul amr, and you call that the fa'il and fa'il, liyadhhab. Okay, the same happens with nahi. So for example, mudari majzoom, but you add a la. You add the la of nahy, harfun nahyin. So la yadhhab, what we translate la yadhhab as? He should not go. So he should not go. Okay, he should not go. La yadhhaba, they should not go. La yadhhabna, those feminine dual should not go. Okay, a few examples. Let's start number one. Who's going to start number one? Who's the first on the list? Start. Bismillah. لِيَفْعَلُوا الْخَيْرَ لِيَفْعَلُوا الْخَيْرَ. How would you translate and how would you tarkeeb of this? जी जी Ahmed. No, not lam al-ibtida. Lam al-amr. Well, how do you know it's not lam al-ibtida? Which one is lam al-ibtida? Which one is lam al-amr? Fatha. You see how technical all of these things are. You have to be very careful. So lam al-ibtida, and this is called lam al-amr. Okay, so lam al-amr, and then yaf'alu becomes fa'il along with fa'il, and the fa'il is the wow, and then khair is the maf'ulun bihi. Translation: is it him? Yaf'alu. So they. So translation should be what? They. No, basic. Like you want them to do it. You're not saying a statement. You're like a request. They should. So they should do good. They should do good. ليفعلوا الخير. لتقيم الصلاة. لتقيم الصلاة. Next person. So we have here lam is what? Lam al-amr. فاعل فاعل. The alif is a fa'il. مفعول به. And translation is so they should establish salah. Okay. لا يخدع أحدا. So this is now harfu or la. You can say la الناهية, or you can also call it harfu nahyin. Either one of them is fine. Okay. And then yakhda becomes what? Fa'il, fa'il, and the zamir is hidden inside huwa, and ahadan becomes the maf'ulun bihi. Okay. Ji. Okay. Muhammad. Next one. Tushriku becomes what? Yeah, you have here fa'il. Fa'il is what? Wow. Bihi is maf'ul bihi, and shay'an is what? No, it's not maf'ul mutlaq. This is maf'ul bihi, khayr sarih, and this is going to be maf'ul bihi. So you're thinking maf'ul mutlaq is fine, but remember maf'ul mutlaq describes the verb. So are we saying don't do any shirk, or are we saying don't ascribe anything to Allah? If we make it maf'ul mutlaq, that would mean do not ascribe any, don't do any shirk. We're not saying don't do any shirk, we're saying do not ascribe anyone as partners to Allah. Do you understand? You following? So how do you translate this? La yushriku bihi shay'a. Not do not. Because look, yushriku. So they should not ascribe anything. They should not ascribe anything as partners to Allah. Okay? Yes? La yakhda ahadan should be what? He should not deceive anyone. Everybody following? Yes? Yeah, okay. Now moving on, if you look at that, now you got the basic concept. You can use the ghaib amr. Now, when you have a ghaib, if you have a normal, if I have, for example, yaf'alu, or taf'alu, or fa'alat, or fa'ala, what can you have after it? The fa'il can be what? Two options. The fa'il can be what? Who can tell me? It can be, the fa'il can, if I say, for example, yaf'alu, and I just hid the rest. You don't know what's coming up later on. I hid it. It's here. You don't know what's coming up. What's the two possibilities? Yes. The fa'il is either huwa inside or the fa'il is coming up here. So the same with the fa'lu amr. If the fa'lu amr is the yaf'alu form, li yaf'al, or the nahi, la yaf'al, what could happen? It could be he, or you can have his own fa'il. So li yadhhab, if I cover up this, so you don't know what's coming up, what would that mean? Li yadhhab, he should go. But because it's a ghaib form, and the singular, the ghaib and ghaiba can have a fa'il after it. So لِيَذْهَبْ زَيْدٌ إِلَى الْمَسْجِدِ. What does this translate as? Zayd should go to the masjid. Now you have the fa'il actually mentioned. So when you have the normal amr, where you command the person in front of you, you can't even say you. You never say, the fa'il is this hidden in English as well. You just say go. If it's a amr lil ghaib, you have to check. Just like a normal verb, you have to check. Is there a marfu after it or not? If there's a marfu after it, this becomes a fa'il of the fa'lul amr, which is for the ghaib. If there's no marfu after it, then the fa'il inside becomes a fa'il. So if I have, for example, liyajlis. What did liyajlis mean? No, you can't say sit. He should sit. And if I said liyajlis zaydun means Zayd should sit. If I say, for example, la yadhhab. What does la yadhhab mean? La yadhhab with a sukoon at the end. He should not go. And if I say la yadhhab Khalidun, translation would be Khalid should not go. Understood? So let's try one example. Liya'dil. Remember, liya'dil is majzoom, liya'dil. But then the rule is when you join together, you have to give the kasra. To liya'dil al-qadi. Adala ya'dilu adlan. To be just. So liya'dil al-qadi. What would the translation be? The qazi or the judge should be just. لِيَبْكِ الْعِبَادُ عَلَى الذُّنُوبِ لِيَبْكِ الْعِبَادُ عَلَى الذُّنُوبِ Baka yabki means to cry, and ibad is the fa'il, ala dhunub is the maf'ul bihi ghayr sarih. Yes? So how would you translate this? Yeah, ibad, abdun is servants, the people, the servants. So the servants should cry over sins. You can even add in, if you want, their sins. Yes, so لِيَبْكِ الْعِبَادُ عَلَى الذُّنُوبِ The servant should cry over sins. So it should. And you can see the fa'il after it. Everybody following? And this becomes, this is the fa'il, and this is maf'ul bihi. I didn't hear you clearly. Go ahead, repeat yourself.
Alhamdulillah, that's basic. I know next practice we're going to do more practice. But just I'm just wanting to get a feel of what the surface of this is. Yes. So yaqtali means to invent, to like.
It could be. You could translate it as maf'ul. It depends on what you can both ways possible. If you say maf'ul lahu is because of their sins, and one is crying over these sins. So for example, you could say bakaytu Zaydan, I cried for Zayd, meaning his death. I cried his death. I mourned his death. So if it is because of their sins, then it would be لِيَبْكِ الْعِبَادُ لِلذُّنُوبِ مِأَجْلِ الذُّنُوبِ. So it can, I understand what your thought process is perfectly correct, that it could also be maf'ul li'ajlihi. But here I'm going to go maf'ul bihi. It doesn't mean, here I'm not trying to say because of their sins, it means cry over their sins, on their sins. Like basically regret their sins. Yes? So yes, it could be maf'ul lahu, and that's fine, that's not too far off. But I would go more technically towards maf'ul bihi, but it's not a major issue. Okay, so it's muta'alliq, it's linked to the verb, but it can be linked in two possible ways, bihi or maf'ul lahu. Yeah. So I said here over sins, but when you go to, again, at the beginning, when we're starting off, you have to be very, very precise. When you get a bit more advanced now, if you just kind of manipulate the translation, just to give a better English translation, as long as it's not too far-fetched, you'll have to do that, especially when it comes to literature. And because remember, every language is not a translation, they have their own styles. So many places in the Arabic language, the alif lam is used, and you can understand that it means there or his. It's referring back to the like a mudaf ilay almost. So you can add in these bits and bobs. Don't go too far off and say, well, Musab said you can do this, and then you make your own translations up. It's just you sometimes have to flex a bit of the translation a bit. But very good questions. Anything else? Okay, next one. لِيَسْكُتِ النَّاسُ إِنْدَ الْخُطْبَةِ. Ji. Tarkib will be, this is the fa'il. And in the khutbah, in the means what? At the time of. So this will be maf'ulun fi. So translation is لَيَسْكُتِ النَّاسُ إِنْدَ الْخُطْبَةِ. How would you translate this?
Except man, whoever, ukriha.
Yeah, the people should be quiet at the time of during the khutbah, during the sermon or the lecture. Are you following? Now, if you look at what we have here on the screen.
Now down here.
So everybody so far? Good? The Amr ghaib, Nahy ghaib. Yes? Now if you look at it, this table, we're seeing a fi'l mudari form with different, like, it looks like a fi'l mudari, but it has variations. Let's start from the top. So if you have fi'l mudari, it's not fi'l mudari all the time, but it looks like a fi'l mudari, right? And some of them are not mudari. But if it's preceded by a la, preceded by what? Was it preceded by? La. If it's marfu', it's going to be a fi'l mudari. Yes? But it's fi'l mudari in a negative form. So la yadhhabu means what? He does not go. La yadhhabu, he does not go. It's a statement. It is a fact. He does not go. Yes? Okay? If you have a fi'l mudari, it's marfu' and not preceded by anything. What does this become? What does this become? A normal fi'l mudari, but positive. So this is a fi'l mudari. We can say here, affirmative fi'l mudari, affirmative, and this is a negative. Yes? Muthbat, this fi'l mudari, remember the muthbat and manfi? Muthbat and fi'l mudari, sorry, I got it wrong way. Fi'l mudari manfi and fi'l mudari muthbatun. Correct? Understood? If we have, it's not preceded by any harf, or it's preceded by a hamza al-wasl and it's madzoom. Basically the amr form. So either, for example, it's got a hamza al-wasl at the beginning, the alif, a joining purpose, idhab. Or you have, for example, baddil, change. But it's madzoom. The verb doesn't have a la before it, but it's madzoom. What's it going to be? Amr. Idhab, go. If it's madzoom, but it has a lamul amr before it, it's going to be amrun lil ghaib, liyadhhab. So it's madzoom preceded by the lam. He should go. Okay? And if you have a la and it's madzoom. So if you've got a la here and it's marfu, it's going to be a normal fi'l mudari. He does not go. If it's la but it's madzoom, it means do not go. And if it's a ghaib form and it's madzoom, it means he should not go. So look, these have la and this has la. Yes? The first one is marfu', so that means it's just a statement. These two also have la, but they're madzoom, that means it's a command. If it's a mukhatab form, it's a normal nahyun, and if it's a ghaib form, it becomes nahyun lil ghaib. Does that make sense? Yes? So let's go through one verb and test this out. Okay, yarka'u. What does yarka'u mean? So raka'a yarka'u to bow. So yarka'u means? Who can translate? He bows. This is a simple mudari. This is a mudari. And it's an affirmative mudari. Mudari'un muthbatun. Yes? Irka. What does irka mean? Bow. What form is this? Amrun. Good. Well, amr is always muthbat, so you don't have to mention that. Nahi will be negative. Liyarka. He should bow. Good. He should bow. Where does should come from? Amr lil ghaib. So it has an amr, lamul amr at the beginning, and it's madzoom at the end. La yarka'u. No, is it majzoom or is it marfu'? He? Exactly, so it's going to be what? Is it a nahi or is it a mudari? No. He does not bow. He does not or he is not bow. He does not bow. He does not bow or is not bowing. And it's a what? This is amrun lil ghaib. This is what? La yarka'u is what? What when I say this is it amr or mudari or nahi? It's mudari, and is it affirmative or negative? So you call it what? Manfiyun. Mudari'un manfiyun. La tarka'. Pardon me? Oh, is it he or tarka? So don't bow. Don't bow, and the you is understood. We don't mention it in English, but it's understood. Yes? You don't bow, but we don't say you, we say don't bow. And what form is this? Nahyun. It's nahyun because it's majzoom. And it's a normal nahyu because it's mukhatab. Because it's mukhatab, the person you're speaking to, it becomes what now? Mukhatabun. And la yarka. Translation of this will be, it's majzoom, correct? But is it mukhatab or is it ghaib? So if it's ghaib, it's going to be translated as what? It's a ya, so it's? So how do you translate this? He should not. He should not. He should not bow. And we call this what? What we call this? Nahyun, but not normal nahyun. We call it nahyun lil ghaibi. Do you understand? Do you understand? Understood here? So we've got practice coming up. So we do that practice inshallah. But that's what we've summarized. So we said here in summary, if you want to command somebody who's not present, you can use the third person amran nahi. And it's simple. All you have to do is for nahi, normal nahi, but use the third person sigha. And for amr, you add a lam with a kasra. And the lam with a kasra differs from the lam al-ibtida because lam al-ibtida has a fatha and it has a kasra. And then we summarize all different variations, which we'll practice more on our textbook inshallah, of how the fi'l mudari can have different, not all fi'l mudari, some are amr, some are nahi, but this form, similar forms, have various meanings. Okay? Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.